Welcome to ZiggyNo's review of King of Collectibles. I'm going to give you a little breakdown of the series without giving any spoilers away. I do think it's a good series, definitely worth checking out. If you are specifically looking for cards, there's not a lot of card content. I'll hit on some of them, but sports card wise, not a lot. There are some good themes in here. I'll give you kind of a tagline: from cards to Cleopatra. Um, what do I see out there? I see money. Um, Explanation of what a break is and more discussions of breaks in sports cards and the hobby. Doing it for mom, to buy mom a house, a theme that comes up at least twice. Um, I was surprised by some of these expensive jerseys, where they were being stored and how they're being stored. Like, my biggest thought was, God, if a moth gets in there, a lot of collections being sold. A lot of guys where they were going to consign one thing and they consign more. And I'm sure that's part of the show, but I'm kind of wondering if there's a bigger theme of that going on. You can tell the show's about a year behind as far as kind of current events. Um, Conversation in there. I want to talk about shilling and what is shilling and what is shilling in these auctions. Great collection. You get to see the Arizona Diamondbacks owner, his collection. Uh, just overall a very, 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 very good series. So let me hit on some of the things that step out to me. I'm kind of going sequence here. And see, in episode one, some of the big things they did talk about a break. They have the Wemby Bowman Superfractor that actually is pulled out of Germany, which I thought is very interesting. Germany. One of my takeaways is the young guy who does the consignment, makes a promise that he'll get Wemby to do a promo video, which is something he can't do. So there's this whole drama about that. What I think is interesting is, again, showing you how these guys sell people, hit these collectibles. Hey, we're going to sell it for you. We're going to get the best money. What's interesting is they make a lot of guesses of how much money they're going to get you. Oh, this is a X dollar card. And you watch them sweat this out. Now, in the movie, in the videos, they seem to always make it. But that is definitely something, like, I think he talks this guy and he's going to get, a certain amount of money for the Wemby card. I'm not going to give all this drama away for you. But it's interesting. Again, when I saw that card, it's the Wemby Bowman Superfractor, my first auto. So we're at least a year behind on the hype. I think that was last spring when that card came out. Looking and thinking about where we are this year. And I will say too, as I'm watching this series, I'm thinking about what's happened recently. Now they're part of eBay. Will there be a Goldin season 3? And if who really cares? I mean, anybody can step in and do what they're doing with the show. You can see there's no real, there's no storyline, in my opinion, between seasons or the people doing the stories. I have some insights on that. Like, I would like to know more about, I'd like to know more about the commission. I'd like to know how much are they making up these? Do they have bonuses and kickers? This is clearly an interesting. I love sales, so everything I break down in sales and what sales commissions are, what their quotas are, how obtainable their quotas are. We'll talk about that too. They're given a quota in the show of $30 million in pop culture to do this year. So it's one of the themes of the show that you'll see them follow through on. There's an episode where they go to Comic-Con and they have a $2 million quota to get $2 million in consignments. Right, so that's one of the storylines to follow. In episode, yeah, I said they talked about example of a break being pulled. In episode 2, the guy brings the guy in, gets the commission, or gets him to commission the card with him. I was looking at my notes and I reminded myself, mummy hand. So in episode 3, you're introduced to another guy who comes in with what he claims is the mummified hand of Cleopatra. Now, I'll be honest, right when I saw this, I thought to myself, wow, we've taken an interesting turn here, haven't we, Ken? And it seems like every new thing, like they pull in what is it, musicians collections that are autographed. Everything they pull, it's like, we're expanding Goldin, we're expanding Goldin. And this is 2 years ago, expanding Goldin, expanding Goldin. And I'm wondering if that confliction where Goldin was expanding in these different places that were not PSA at all, that maybe kind of led to the resistance where they're kind of pushed to be, they're definitely meant to be more part of eBay. When you look at what they're doing, the consignment business and what they're growing, it looks like, again, what Ken's doing is interesting. It also points out to me how much his business is based on trust. I mean, trust is key, and he's established trust with players, individuals. He has a conversation with Barry Bonds, and I'll say this: I applaud that. As much as we may criticize him for some of his past, the man's navigated a pretty successful life in the industry. I'm interested to see they do. I don't want to ruin the Cleopatra hand, but it's definitely a cliffhanger that I hope they answer for you in a season 3. If not, I'm gonna be asking Ken every time I see him, what happened to the Cleopatra hand? In fact, you guys, if we see him, ask him about the Cleopatra hand. That is the most amazing part of the story, in my opinion. They go to Comic-Con. I think it's episode 4 or 5. Again, they're out looking at Comic-Con, and Ken makes a comment, what do you see up there? And the guys say, I see money. And it's one of those feelings where, as a collector, I think to myself, that's just gross. Because basically what they see is that I see I can make a commission off of helping people move stuff around. Like, don't move around your stuff. Let me help you move it around. Um, really interesting. Again, I understand, and this is where I get into, like, they have a $2 million quota. That's really great, but how much control are they of that quota? Like, when you're selling a product, I kind of understand marketing, sales, forecasting. When your product is basically convince other people to give you their product to sell, it's a challenging quota, man. That's a challenging quota. I'm not gonna lie, that's a challenging quota. I'll leave it at that. Um, I was surprised they do some episodes with some amazing collections. I mean, there's guys that and I will say they put these valuations, like they do a valuation on a video game set that later on it appears those items don't sell for as much as they thought they'd sell them for. But this guy Ken's going through this guy's collection, and his wife had let him go through these jerseys, and all these jerseys are just in a closet, and they're just next to each other on hangers, which is how I have mine set up. Right? There's no bags. There's no. There are some certification tags, but there's nothing protecting them. I'm thinking to myself, there's got to be moth stuff in there to protect the moths, because if a moth got in there, think about that. Just think about that. It just gave me heebie-jeebies. Or a fire. The house burns on fire. In fact, he's asked, "What happens to your house, Ken? What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm getting my wife out first, then I'm come back again. I don't know, some other collectible out second." But he did say his wife first, which I thought smart. Um, Also, there was another guy pulling jerseys out from underneath the doctor's table. That was another one I thought was great. Ken goes to meet a doctor, Dr. Buck, and he's like pulling out, what do you think about this one? Plop. What do you think about this one? Plop. And a lot of these guys decide they consign more than they were originally planning to, which I think, again, is kind of a point that a lot of people are cashing out in the collectibles industry. They see all the hype and all the interest and all the value, and like, I'm gonna get a little piece of this pie and sell this sucker. Um, Oh, I have a note here. Refer to stickers. Oh. One of their guys gets the messy sticker 101 comes in. And I will say this. So remember I told you the first family, the guy was German. This family, Hispanic, which makes you think international hits, man. People are hitting this shit internationally. Or actually, I think it's in the US, but they're international players or breakers buying into US or opening US products. I don't remember, but Hispanic dude comes in with his family, and it's a sticker, right? And the first thing is this young man who's from Goldin. I can't remember the guy's name. I like him, but he's in there always referring to this as Messi's card. Oh, this card chips. The black is hard to grade this card. This card, I'm like, dude, it's not a card. It is a sticker. That is why it is hard the way it is. Now, I'm not going to ruin for what you sold. And I'll also say this too. You can look any of these sales up too, which is another thing I kind of found a little not dramatic. Like, this show would be cooler if they did it week by week and it was only 2 weeks behind live. Then you kind of be looking to see what happens. Like, what did that sell for? How much did that go for? There's also cards in here. They show you that, like, they don't ever talk about what happens to the Honus Wagner 5 SGC. You don't get a closure on that. I like closure sometimes, guys. Again, so jerseys blow my mind. Sticker guy keeps recurring to as a card. Oh, here's the funny part. So he basically talks the kid in the Hispanic family into coming in at the close of the auction, and he tells them, he basically says this card will hit 100,000, and he keeps saying card, it's a sticker. It will hit 100,000. And on the day of, like 2 hours before they're supposed to get there, it's like at $40,000. And he even makes a comment, I wish I never invited them. And I'm thinking to myself, I know you probably feel that way, but you shouldn't say that on camera, right? He backs it up later on after the auction, goes, I still wish I never invited the family. It's nothing against the family. It's just he realized he put himself under a lot of pressure to invite a family in who's coming there to watch this auction close. Oh, I should also mention this kid, the messy kid, mentioned, I'm giving this money to my mom to buy a house. So whatever money I make from this, I'm giving to my mom to buy a house. And again, this is why I don't know where the mom lives, because there's not enough money here to buy a house, but they seem very happy with the outcome. It is an interesting scene. You got to check it out. I think it's episode 7. It closes with the auction and what goes on there. There's a scene in there too, which makes me start thinking about shilling, because at one point he goes, I got to start banging the phones to see if anybody out there can get some action, get this bidding going up. And I'm thinking, so what does that mean? Like, does anybody get a call from Ken Gold and go, look, there's a Pokemon. It's it's only 40,000. It should easily be 100,000. Why don't you put a bid on there for me? And if so, is that shilling? I don't think it's shilling. I mean, the guy would have to actually back the bid if he bets, 50 and it doesn't go to more. But he's basically saying, look, it's way under. I'm telling you right now, can you get some shark blood in this? And the reason I say that is because they always, when you hear the negotiation, when these guys are talking to people, and there's this one item they talk about at the end where the guy's like, "Yeah, we have to have a reserve on it." Like they want at least $1 million for this item, and they're like, "No, you got to come in lower. You got to come in lower so you get bidding and get bidding, get competition. The items go really high. If you come in with a reserve or come with a high starting bid, you only get one or two people going after that item. It waits, it sits around forever, and not as many people have as much action." So that being said, it makes me almost think like they're telling you, let's see, you have $1 million item coming at $50,000. I've got enough friends that I can call on the phone who will shill this puppy up to at least 500,000. That's almost what I feel like they're saying. They're not saying that, but I almost feel like they are. And again, it's relationship. I'm sure, again, if one of these guys bid it to, here's the thing, like it's $1 million item. If you bid it to $100,000 and it closes for $100,000, I'll help you run the auction again. We'll get more than 100 for it. That's kind of what I think they're saying. Like you're not going to be stuck with this item. We'll cover you till you can cover this. I don't know. It's interesting to me. Because again, here's another one. The Honus guy who has the SGC thing, he says, no, I'm not taking this to auction. A lot of sellers are very resistant about taking things to auction. There's a private sale mentioned at the end for $2 million. You don't really hear about how that's brokered. So again, great insights, great information. Definitely, definitely, definitely. I have a note here. I cannot read this. I'll have to pause the video. Um, Oh, there's a great scene where Ken talking to Barry Bonds. Great scene. Ken talking to the Arizona Cardinals, and it's this theme of saving a collection for your son. Something you pass down. You can't sell this, son. I'm giving this to you. You have to give it to somebody else. I think that's great. I have 5 sons, so it'd be really hard for me to do that. I have to come up with 5 freaking things to send down to everybody. They're all going to complain. Like well, that's a side note. I wouldn't go there. The Arizona collection, I would say, was absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous. There was another set. This guy sold Pokemon, dude. Sold some Pokemon cards, and he sold some Pokemon trophies from this game. And again, his theme was, "I'm selling this to get my mom a house." So I'll just say a couple takeaways I have from this video. If you have an item you want to take to Goldin, tell them you're taking the money and you're going to give it to buy your mom a house. That's a really great theme. I think it would get you on the show if you're selling your item and giving the money to your mom to buy a house. I have to remember that. I don't think they believe me because I'm kind of old and be like, "Is your mom really need a house, right, Maya?" And I'd be, "Yeah, she does." So maybe I'll buying, I don't know, but just keep that in mind. Also, remember, guys, this is a business. I mean, my God, the one thing I take away from watching this thing is how much of a business this is. I was thinking about it. Ken Goldin had this $30 million quota on sales. I think they have a 10% of 30 million is 3 million, 20% is 6 million. So I think that's $6 million in commissions. Because I think they have a 20% upcharge between $3 and $6 million. Think about that. $3 to $6 million is brought in selling stuff. My God, what a lucrative deal. How much commission do you think's paid out? It's not high. And what I mean by that, they're pulling in 20. They're not giving these guys 10%. There's no way they're giving them 10%. I have to think, though, probably 2 to 5%, which is still healthy. I mean, dude, these commissions could be big, which is what I love sales for, right? You chase the commission check. Um, very, very interesting. Really, again, opens your mind to the whole collectible, the market space, relationships. Um, Hope you like this review. Overall, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great show. I hope they do a follow-up on Cleopatra. I wish they did a follow-up last year. I hope they don't talk at all about the way this thing ends. You can tell it's ending. They give you great time periods. You can tell it ended like last summer, I would say, probably a year behind from the last video to where we are right now in time. I think it's pre-national as well last year. They didn't mention the national at all, or the Comic-Con, which I think is interesting to point out. There is a lot of margin, it appears like, on cards. Here's another takeaway. The gentleman owning the Arizona Cardinals, who has all these freaking amazing cards, as they're going through them, they're valuing them at like 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, 20 million, 5 million, 2 million, 4 million. I mean, I'll be honest, doesn't make a goddamn bit of difference. He makes a comment. The Honus Wagner that he has, that 8, that's the notorious PSA, I think it's the 0001 trimmed, whatever. He paid 2.8 million for that. 2.8 million for that. 2.8 million for that. He paid 2.8 million for that. And he said that's the most he's ever paid for a card. I think that is even bigger. He's never paid more than 2.8 million. And that's the only time he ever did it with them. So all those other cards, those manuals that are freaking PSA 10s, it's all these fucking beautiful PSA 10s of these gorgeous vintage cards that make you just go, I mean, they are sexy as hell. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd like to see in person. Like those corners are so damn sharp, dude. Like I can see why people want to eye appeal like crazy. They should be museum pieces. Um, he paid 2.8 million. So he probably paid, let's say he probably paid 4 or 5 million, maybe for the whole. I don't know. He's killing, and that's sports cards, dude. What you pay and what the value of someone, what it could potentially go for in the future is crazy. Like, comment, subscribe. Bye.